Imagine you're standing inside your favorite brand's world, not watching a video, but living it. You can touch the products, talk to virtual characters, and explore as if you're really there. How would that change the way you feel about the brand? Hello, everyone. My name is Lukman, and today I'm going to share a research paper that I have done together with my co authors, titled Immersive Storytelling in Virtual Reality: Digital Interaction for Enhanced Consumer Engagement. In this presentation, we'll explore how virtual reality doesn't just tell stories, it invites people to step inside them. We'll see how this shift from passive viewing to active participation is transforming the way consumers connect with brands. Virtual reality is increasingly being used across industries to transform consumer interactions. It allows businesses to create three-dimensional immersive environments where consumers can interact with brands in new and memorable ways. Previous research shows that VR enhances satisfaction, loyalty, and purchase intention. But despite this promise, industries like luxury brands remain hesitant to adopt VR because they see it as conflicting with their traditional values. There's also a gap in research. While we know VR can attract attention, we don't have enough empirical evidence on how it fosters actual engagement, particularly in Southeast Asia, where VR adoption is rapidly growing. Our research addresses this gap by systematically analyzing three potential drivers: immersive storytelling, technology integration, and exposure frequency and duration, and assessing their relative impact on consumer engagement. To guide our analysis, we developed three hypotheses. First, we expected that integrating VR technology into marketing strategies would significantly improve consumer engagement, since VR is often seen as innovative and interactive. Second, we hypothesized that the duration and frequency of VR exposure would positively influence engagement. The logic here is that the more often consumers interact with VR content, and the longer they stay immersed, the stronger their connection to the brand might be. And finally, we hypothesized that virtual reality storytelling would positively influence engagement. This is based on the idea that stories are powerful drivers of attention and emotion, and when combined with immersive VR technology, they might create a uniquely engaging experience. These hypotheses formed the basis of our structural equation model. Our study involved 99 participants from Southeast Asia. We used purposive sampling to recruit respondents and distributed the survey online. The questionnaire was designed with a 5-point Likert scale to measure perceptions of four variables: immersive storytelling, VR technology integration, exposure frequency and duration, and consumer engagement. To ensure validity, we relied on existing scales from prior literature, and we confirmed reliability with Cronbach's alpha and convergent validity tests. For analysis, we applied structural equation modeling using Smart PLS to examine relationships between variables, and multiple regression tests in SPSS to further validate the results. This diagram summarizes our structural equation model. On the left, you can see the three independent variables: storytelling, ST, exposure frequency and duration, EF, and VR integration, IV. Each is measured by multiple survey items, shown in yellow boxes with high factor loadings above 0.8, which confirms strong reliability. Overall, the model explains about 69% of the variance in consumer engagement, which is quite high. The key takeaway here is that storytelling is the real driver of engagement, far more than technical integration or exposure time. This table summarizes the reliability and validity of our constructs. We used Cronbach's alpha, composite reliability, and average variance extracted to check measurement quality. As you can see, most constructs have alpha values above 0.85, with storytelling and integration showing excellent reliability. Exposure frequency is slightly lower at 0.596, but its composite reliability of 0.832 and AVE of 0.712 confirm that it still meets the acceptable standards. This table presents the t-test results for our regression analysis. As we can see, storytelling has a very strong and significant effect on consumer engagement, with a standardized coefficient of 0.791 and a p-value below 0.001. This means that narrative immersion in VR plays a central role in engaging consumers. On the other hand, VR integration and exposure frequency both have positive coefficients, but their significance levels are above 0.05, meaning they are not statistically significant. In other words, while these factors might contribute slightly, they don't have a meaningful impact on engagement. The key takeaway here is clear. Immersive storytelling is the main driver of consumer engagement in VR marketing, while simply increasing exposure or integrating the technology is not enough. These results carry important implications. First, they confirm that VR on its own is not enough. Simply exposing consumers to VR or integrating it into a marketing strategy does not guarantee engagement. What makes the difference is the narrative dimension. When consumers are drawn into a story, they form a deeper emotional and cognitive connection with the brand. This supports existing theories of narrative immersion, which suggest that stories transport people into a different reality and make them feel involved. Our study shows this effect is amplified when combined with VR technology. For marketers, this means that investment should not only be in VR devices or platforms, but in crafting meaningful, immersive stories that resonate with audiences. Story-driven VR campaigns can create a sense of presence and emotional involvement that goes beyond traditional advertising. To conclude, our study demonstrates that immersive storytelling in VR is the most effective driver of consumer engagement. It outperforms both technical integration and exposure time. The practical takeaway for businesses is clear. Focus on developing high-quality, story-driven VR experiences if you want to build stronger connections with consumers. For researchers, this opens several avenues. Future studies should look at long-term effects of VR engagement, demographic differences in how people respond to VR, and how VR might work in combination with AI and AR to create even richer experiences. Ultimately, VR is not just a technology, it is a medium for stories, and when used strategically, it can transform how brands and consumers connect